All right, good evening, everybody. Actually, probably good morning because most people are probably going to watch this on Friday morning because I got it up so late or going to get it up so late on Thursday. So, this week's third tip, our Friday tip. Quick summary, like I posted before, it is coming from one of our members. And actually, I've known her for a long time. Great lady, Sharon. Great lady, great lady. Um, Great fan of dog sport, trains hard, does well, or always goes to training, has a consistent training program. So what she's asking is, she's got a great instructor, she's got a good training program, she goes to workshops. This is not something new to her. She is curious, what can she do different because she's not having success all the time in trials, or where it seems like the trial is going great and then it's horrible. Okay, so that's actually, there's a lot of variables when it comes to trialing. Training obviously is a major portion, um, but I kind of like to think of it this way. There's two main things or ways I would look at this. In reference to trialing, there's things that you can control, that's one group, and the second group are things that you cannot control. So, example, you can't control what number you are in the running order. It's impossible. You can't control that, okay? So that type of thing, you necessarily can't control that. So I just trying to find a workaround and continuously, you know, don't always be the same in the same order. Okay. The second thing, we're talking about things that you can control, which is things that you can control are things that you have direct impact on. Okay. And now there's like I said, having success in training and then not having success in trialing. There's like it's a major challenge. Okay, I will tell you, myself personally, I am a great person in training. I handle well. I'm calm. I'm confident. I can read everything. I will be honest, when it comes trial time, I do get a little bit nervous. Or let's say this way, for the professional world, when it comes certification time, I do get nervous. Now, I'll talk more later on about things that I do to combat that now. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is items that, like, the things you can control, things that you have direct impact on. Okay. And these are some of the things that you might not ever think about. Okay. If you always go to training and you crate inside, and all of a sudden come trial day, you have to crate in the car. Or I'll add another one to you. When you go to training all the time, you go in your car, normal car. But now you're going to a trial, and guess what? You're going in an RV. Okay, that's a big difference to the dog. Dogs are being crated at a different spot, etc. So those are differences. The golden rule of thumb is, you want to do copycat what you do in training as much as what you do in trial. Now, there's going to be some restrictions, and you don't have to do it every single time, but there's some, what I would consider, trial preparation. And trial preparation is probably the key to all of this right here. Training time, everybody knows my concept. Every training session should create willingness in the dog to do the work, and every training program should be designed about covering up the faults of the dog, genetic faults of the dog, things that are temperament, character, and drive type faults. That's you want to address those through the training program. But every training session should be creating willingness in the dog to work. And I've talked a lot lately about people making every problem super hard. That's damaging, dangerous, right? Pretty soon the dog has no motivation, no desire, because every time it goes to work, the problem, or every time it goes to train, the problem's really hard. Okay, so that's a little bit different subject. But let's get back on the things you can control and the things you can't control. Now, there's no way that I know every single scenario that you're going to be in. Okay, but things that you can control. You can control When you do equipment changes, you can control where you crate at. I always, because I know more than likely will always have the option pretty much to crate in my car. So I just believe in crate in my car because I don't have to worry about if I go to a trial, there's no place to crate inside. Or my dog it just becomes comfortable to him. That's his environment, okay, or her environment. The other thing that I've noticed a lot of times when people are trialing, and this is something they can control, they take their dog out a lot of times, way too many times than what they necessarily need to, okay? That is something that you can control. Take your dog out, let them take a break without their equipment on, put the dog back up, let the dog rest. Sometimes there's this constant in and out, the dog's like, what's going on? In class, I go to the crate, I sit here until it's my turn to run, and mom's over there watching everybody else, and then all of a sudden, now here we are, mom's like just fiddly, okay? So these are things that you can control. Equipment change, you can control, okay? Those are things that you control. Now, things that you can't control. You can't control what number you're going to be in the running order. So in your training program or in your training sessions, you should always pick a different spot to run in, a different number to run in. Sometimes you run first, sometimes you run last. So, and a lot of that has to do with like smelling other doggy odor, some people call it the secret sauce, saliva from the other dogs, etc. Blah, 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 okay? Although you can't control what number you run the running order, you can set yourself up for success that way, okay? The other thing that you cannot control, most nose work classes are at night. Most trials are during the day. So if you want to do, for example, most classes are at night and your dog's used to going to search at night, okay, or in the afternoon, late afternoon. Most trials are during the day. That is a difference. Can't control the trial is going to be at day, but you can definitely adjust your training scenario, okay? So the other thing, like equipment, stuff like that, that is all, it falls into either two categories. You can't control how many staging areas there's going to be, but if it's NACSW, there's probably going to be a minimum of at least 2, if not 3. So that's something you can't control, but that's something you can prepare for, which leads me into the next, the most important, two parts that are extremely important about this week's. Okay, trial preparation. I do believe in, and everybody knows me for this, 90% pairing. Okay. And I do believe in handlers for the bulk of the time knowing where the hide's at. So they can be quick to pay and they can be quick to assist their dog. But if you are going to be serious about trialing and you're having some glitch happening where you're just not having the success, you need to do a program, what I consider trial prep. Trial prep is specifically setting you up so you get used to the trial environment. Okay, how can you do this? Well, like I said earlier, most trials are they're on Saturday and Sunday. Sometimes Friday or a Monday on a long weekend or something like that. But the reality is most time they're during the day. You need to pick Saturdays and Sundays that are available for you that you can set up to do some training time. Now, it would be ultimate that if you can get a group together, 8, 9, 10 people, 6 people, 7 people, whatever, and you basically set up, in a sense, what I consider a mock trial. Trial prep, the things that the dog should see. Flags, almost perimeter is always marked with flags. The little soccer dot cones, the start line cone, all those are things that you should put out. The next thing is you should go from your car, potty your dog, carry your dog, and go sit and wait at a staging area for 5 minutes before you move, or 10 minutes before you move, to get your dog used to that scenario. Then continue forward to the next staging area. Sit and wait for 5 minutes. The other thing that is critical, on trial day, most trial hides are set for a longer time than normal in training. Set time is going to be probably an hour to 2 hours, sometimes even more, okay? Sometimes hides are set in the morning and they're not ran till the afternoon. This is a variable that if your dog's not used to seeing, could be a big change for your dog. Odor does a big difference. When you first plant it, you got the anomaly and freshness of disturbance of where the area, the environment that you planted it in. And then after about 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, maybe that starts to wear off. We'll say between 20 and 40 minutes, that starts to wear off, depending on temperature. And then the odor is, dispersing. It's initially probably from, just I'm hypothetically saying, there's so many environment variables that can control this. But initially, probably 20 minutes of set time to an hour set time, it's a nice little cone. And then after it sat there for more than an hour, it's starting to become a little bit wider cone, and they're starting to get more pooling odor, and it's starting to become a cloud in the room, and the converging is really starting to converge. So if your dog, in your trial prep scenario, you need to set hides where they set for a long time. The other thing, most trials you travel to. So you got the variable of hotel or RVing or camping or whatever the night before, so you get up early and go there. It wouldn't hurt for everybody to pick a mock location that you're going to, or a location away from you, and set this up as a trial prep. Okay, now it's kind of hard always to get all your peers and friends to do that, but you definitely can do that yourself. You can pick, I'm going to go up to State Park such and such, and I'm going to run a mock trial. I'll have my husband set hides for me, or a friend will set hides for me, and I'm going to go the night before. And then we're going to set hides up in the morning, and we're not going to run until, we'll set hides at 8, and we're not going to run until 10. And then I already have the other venues already set, so I'll have multiple venues set, and I'll do staging areas through the whole time. The other thing that needs to happen, and I've talked about these things before, is that you need to use multiple of vessels. It can't just be a slider tin or straw or one of the centrifuge caps. You need to use multiple different vessels. Okay, these are all things that I put into my trial prep. The other thing about trial prep that's really important is you gotta run it blind. I would highly recommend, before trialing, you run at least 2 problems or 2 training sessions that hides are blind to you. Videotape them, however you want to do it, but you need to run at least, I would say a minimum of 2 sessions that are blind to you and also not paired, so you can see the difference. Now, when they're not paired, don't screw this up. Take the advantage to reward your dog like it's the best dog in the world and it just found the last bomb that just saved the whole world, okay? Reward the heck out of them, okay? Make it value to that, okay? So when I say trial prep, let's say that the first weekend in November, I'm going to go trial for NW3 or Elite or AKC Master, whatever, it doesn't matter. I would give yourself a month ahead of time of running those 2 sessions. So then you have motivation time in between to build dog back up for things. So if I'm trying the first weekend in November, the first weekend in October, I'm going to do a mock trial setup. The mock trial setup is to, the reason why I'm saying a month in advance is that if you discover problems, it gives you time to adjust them and still time to do a little bit of mock in between. Okay. Now, when you do the trial prep, at least 2 sessions blind, okay? So you get used to it, not just a one-time off, okay? At least 2 sessions blind and at least 2 sessions not paired, okay? And I would run however many elements that you're running for your venue. I would try to run that many elements too, or that many problems. Now, you may not have access to interior, you may not have access to vehicles or whatever the case may be, but still make up something else. Run extra containers or something of that nature, okay? Also, very, very important for you on this, think about the set time. Make some of those problems where the set time is pretty much the duration of the day. Stop in the middle of the day. Make a day of this. Stop in the middle of the day and have a little bit of lunchtime. The other thing that you could duplicate, because